Alright, so this is Sunless Sea with the submariner attachment. They haven't updated in a while, so I have all the new stuff. I figured it might be fun to just start a new playthrough. I forgot how much fun some of the writing is and the terror of floating around a dark ocean that's deep under the earth where you can't die properly. So I figured we'll get started with a new game and explore the undersea. The Untersea, I think. All right. I do like something about Sunless Sea compared to Fallen London, the browser game that this is based on, where a lot of things in Fallen London might be a little circumspect, a little vague, or you're supposed to put together, what they are, and then in Sunless Sea, it's just like, okay, here's the deal. 3 decades ago, in the reign of Victoria, London was stolen by bats. Now it lies a mile below the surface. It was dreadfully inconvenient for everyone, but it opened a vast black ocean to you. Welcome to the Untersee. One thing that I like, I'm not sure if it's overt in Fallen London, but it's heavily implied, I feel, that Queen Victoria sacrificed London in order to get Prince Albert back from the dead, or he was sick and to keep him alive instead of letting him die. And so, if I recall correctly, and it's been a while since I've played Fallen London very far in, but like he stumbles about in the gardens, sort of a zombie situation. And it's unknown whether or not she regrets her decision. And in fact, I'm not sure that she's entirely human anymore. In any case, choose past. What do I want to be? Alright. Now you're a captain. Now you belong to the Untersea. But who were you before? So I might not read out everything, but you have some of these backgrounds. I like that there was the campaign of 68, a failed invasion of hell. Your peculiar theories on time, blood, and starlight brought you down to the Neath, the cavern where London lies. And now they take you out to Z. I think I'll do this one. Just because I like being able to detect and percept things. Alright, so I get an acquaintance, the plausible surgeon, who will serve as my doctor until I find someone much better. And already starts giving hints. So I have some money, Echo. The original name for Fallen London, the browser game, was Echo Bazaar, and that's how I first heard about it in, I think, high school. And I remember thinking, like, oh, that's an interesting name. And then years later, when I heard Fallen London, I was like, oh, that's a boring name. No one's going to remember that. And now I've kind of reversed my stance. Echo Bazaar, I don't know, it could be anything, and it's not really what Fallen London is about. You don't necessarily go into the bazaar a lot, even though the bazaar is a character. Anyway, I have all these, and now there are all sorts of fun ambitions. I can look for my father's bones, immortality. I do like writing a masterpiece. I did this one, I think, with my first line of captains. Captain's Hardacre. Captain's Hardacre 1 through 3, I think. And then Wealth. That one's, I don't know. And then this one can't be chosen, but there will be an opportunity to switch to it later on. I personally am kind of intrigued by this one because I always thought the Elder Continent sounded cool. There's a mountain. I believe that there's a garden. It might be the Garden of Eden. Who knows? Devils are real. Why not the Garden of Eden? So I think I'll do this one. Sure. So, this word that I won't be able to pronounce properly, but the Presbyterate guards. Okay. The Presbyterate guards its secrets fiercely. But amidst the clamor and beer stains of the blind helmsman, a salt-scarred navigator is telling tales of the continent's deepest interior, of a city called Nida, and the origin of the presbyter's long life. Where is he getting his information? Bring wine. He is susceptible to wine. So already you start off with a little mini quest to start to get a feel for things that you're going to do. So I'm going to liberate the secret of immortality. One of the things that's sort of interesting for this quest is that for a large part of the Neath, death is at best treatable, and at worst just not really a thing you need to worry about. There are ways to die, like I think it might say along the way that you can die at sea. I don't know if it's just that the rules are different when you're out on a boat, or it's just a matter of the idea is like you're going to be eaten by things. You can also get like two dead and wounded, and we'll get to see what those people are like rather more quickly than in Fallen London, the browser game. But yeah, so I guess this is sort of deathlessness. I don't know, or you know, with not aging attached, healing from gunshot wounds instead of presumably having to live with those permanently. Anyway, so here's a nice little thing that I won't say. Well, that it's something that I appreciated. Some how ought you to be referred to. I always choose captain. One of the things that Fallen London has is you can choose your pronouns. So of course there's ma'am, sir. There's titles that you can choose, that including captain. And then I remember our first profile I ever did. I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically like we don't have. There are there are nightmares. Our city was stolen. There are tentacle men running around the city. There's no time to think about gender. So, let's see. We'll just go with this one. This looks like someone who would be pretty interested in finding immortality, judging by the bandages. And I'll choose, boy, names are hard. I sure hope I don't have to introduce a cut, as I genuinely have to think hard about this. Oh, it's lame, but it's what I got. Overhill and Untersee. Okay, and also this is ostensibly sort of a semi-roguelike, and I'm not going to play it that way because some people, when they spend hours on something and then they die, they're like, oh, well, I'll do it better next time. And I just personality-wise, I'm more like, all those hours were wasted. I'm not going to play anymore. And in fact, that's partially why I stopped playing Fallen London until pretty recently. So that's like 4 or 5 years of not playing, because I spent literal weeks grinding up the materials so that I could try and get a submarine, in Fallen London, not here, because we will find out more about that. But so I got enough for 2 tries, and there's other items that you can gather in order to have multiple tries. And I tried to go for a particular type of submarine, and I tried all of my tries, and I used up all of essentially months of resources, and I failed just because some of it, is based on chance, and I lost all my supplies, and I was like, okay, I've been like staying up late to wait for my choices to re-up, because it's a browser game, so your payment is in time. You have a certain number of choices you can make before you have to wait for your actions to refresh. So I was staying up late to sort of maximize the amount. At the time, I was even paying money on a monthly basis, and I don't regret that, because the writing is very well done, and they certainly deserve the money. But it also grants you more actions, more opportunities, and I had just I sort of took a step back, and I was just like, oh, this isn't worth it actually, and I logged out, and I never logged in again. And then I made a new character just to see how things were different, because I missed the lore and the stories. But I'm being a little more laid back about it. So that, in a better Let's Players vlog, would have been cut, but I'm not going to cut it, because I am a goobus. So, this is a tutorial. We don't have one. So we have how to acquire a submarine. The Admiralty has sworn off submarine exploration for some curious reason. However, there may be some unofficial research being conducted in a distant colony. So we have to travel to the southern coast and follow east to find Port Carnelian. And there we can start the process of building our ship into a submarine. And that is Sunless Sea speak, meaning you can't just go there and do it. You actually have to have supplies. So don't be surprised if you make it to Port Carnelian, as I did, with literally 1 whole health, and expect to be able to become a submarine, because you need more supplies. Okay, so this is something that you get, the much lamented and demo perhaps. Found a watery grave long ago. Probably you'll die too, but your chances will improve. So here's the thing where it's semi-roguelike. Every time you die, the Untersee, the location of the islands will reset. And you can give some stuff to your future captains. Oh, I just realized the thing was, what I found was a little frustrating is that I wasn't sure how it worked, and since I backed the Kickstarter, I had a Parabolan panther, a panther from the Dream World, the Dreamland, and so I couldn't give. I was too afraid to lose it so I didn't. I didn't give anything else other than my panther to my subsequent officers, my subsequent captains. So I wasn't getting any better. I just every Hardacre would just send a crate back, and it would bob into London Harbor, and it would just have a cat in it, and be like, "Okay, next idiot." You don't get a boat. You don't get money. You just get this cat. So I'm not going to do this. And luckily, unlike most roguelikes, they make it your own choice. The only difference is you get to keep a medallion, the Invictus token. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. And that's very cool and all, but it means that I can't make any saves. There's an autosave, and if I die, that's it, and I lose all my my progress except for that which was hinted in here, and that's not worth it to me. So I'm gonna lose that Invictus token right before we set off because I'm gonna manually save. So you spend secrets to improve your abilities. There are other things you can spend secrets on, so I find I usually don't end up upping my levels very often, which is probably super bad. Yeah, so that's one of the things that I find interesting. Yeah, more leisurely exploration like me. Yeah, the Invictus token, as far as I'm aware, doesn't do anything except be a badge of honor. So your Prow Lamp dispels darkness and reduces terror, which is very important because your crew, which is also your health points, essentially, will get more and more afraid, and it has permanent effects. And also, when you get to 100, I think it's just death. I don't think it's ever happened to me, but I've gotten very close. So, the other thing is that the light that you need to make your crew less afraid also consumes more fuel and makes you more noticeable to things. So I press Z to use my Z-Bat Scout, and it will fly out, and then it will come back and tell me it didn't find anything. And that's been my only experience with the Z-Bat Scout. I just don't find it very worthwhile. Muted myself to cough. Okay, so stories, more stories when you make port. My scroll isn't very strong. So terror says over here, so when the red pips appear around it, it bumps up. And they have added many new stories over the time. They're not doing any more. They've already made a sequel. I was going to say started work on a sequel. It's like, no, they've created Sunless Skies and also added stories to that. And maybe if I finish this game properly, then I'll move on to that one. And now, so that's all of that. Now I sell it for more money. 50 echoes. Okay. So, we were already told he needs a cask of mushroom wine. The Blind Helmsman is a Wolfstack institution, a centuries-old pub held together by a crust of fry smoke and the nautical mementos nailed to the walls. When you enter, the salt-scarred navigator is already in full flow. A city deep in the interior. Nida, it's called. There, they decide the span of every life, which, if we find the right officer, we will learn more about. But it's up to chance and whether we have the resources to hire them when we find them. So we'll just have to keep looking. So I'm going to buy a cask in a minute. First of all, I'm I have lodging somewhere, presumably above the blind helmsman. Definitely don't have 1,000 echoes in order to get a townhouse. I will, however, get this, read the morning papers. One of the things that's sort of fun with Fallen London is that, as part of the lore, the masters of the bazaar, the Echo Bazaar, being what Victoria sold London to, or she sold it to the masters thereof. One of the things is that they required everything be renamed. So, one of the fun things that you can do is like Google around online, or people have collected the reasoning behind some of the names that Fallen London uses for various areas of it. So I'm not going to remember any off the top of my head, but presumably you can find some loric reason why some London docks would be called Wolfstack. Perhaps an old name that got retired. But what it means is that you see some moments of rebellion against the masters where the London magazine renamed itself because it was required to the magazine formerly known as the London Magazine. So I know, I thought it was fun, and it also means that you can buy old street signs with echoes in Fallen London, because old street signs that show the old names of things are valuable for certain things. Anyway, the Echo Bazaar, the enigmatic marketplace, has increased its tax on love stories. I wonder why. The Trader Empress, the not very nice name for Victoria, has forbidden singing in the street outside her palace. The anarchists of the Calendar Council, oh, G.K. Chesterton, the man who was Thursday, have inexplicably, man, I'm very good at speaking today. I'm sorry. The anarchists of the Calendar Council have inexplicably dynamited a drinking fountain. The Ministry of Public Decency has located and destroyed a nest of gallbladder wasps. So I now have this item. Outlying colonies are often eager for recent news. We can spend it in various places. Alright, so we have a passenger. The August travel writer to Guiders Morn, or Gators Morn. Why my ship specifically? Odd. The August travel writer shakes your hand. His grip is distressingly strong. Thank you. It's Guiders Morn I'm bound for first, he says. I hear they... He hurries over to your stoker, who is carrying his steamer trunk up the gangplank. No need to trouble yourselves. Give it here. Remember, Captain, Guiders Morn. I'll pay you 150 echoes when we arrive. That's not bad. The problem is, I don't know where Guiders Morn in, and there is a very strong chance I will not make it to it in even the first couple of trips. So I've done the tutorial. I don't want to miss anything necessarily. So we have this. Interesting also, the game that I made right before this one, before I got the idea to start filming myself, I got a little Blemigan Gallivanter to be a mascot. And it's a little purple shroomlet, essentially. Or like jellyfish shroom. It's hard to tell, but one of the cute things about it is it's drawn a little mustache on its face with pen to look older, so it can go out to sea and have adventures. I don't know if it will show up in this playthrough, but currently I have this comatose ferret. It is not impressive. Play, that eye roll says play. I played once in the happy warrens of London before you installed me in this floating coffin and made me eat dried food. Damn your play. It is an eloquent eye roll. That's one thing I don't like, is that it doesn't bring you back to the officer's page. You have to manually hop back. Alright. Hello, my dear, my dear. Sit down carefully. Just let me tidy away these implements. We don't want any carelessness, do we? So, this is where you spend secrets to increase your stats. And then I can ask after his desires and ambitions. He's traveled much, seen all manner of wound and malady. But is there anything left for him to discover? Any place he wishes to go? The Chelinate. Probably in Greek you pronounce it Kelinate, but I'm just going to say cello. You know it? They collect corpses. He shifts in his seat. Vast, noble, complicated corpses. What I could learn, what I could see. My dearest captain, if we ever find ourselves in the Chelinate, I do hope you might see fit to release me from our arrangement. Luckily for me, unless and until I get a better doctor, the Chelinate is not reachable at this time. I do not have the ability to reach it with current fuel and supplies. I won't be able to afford it. Okay. So I've talked with those two. You can see this. I want to liberate the secret of immortality. These are just various stats. Memoirs, my ambition, objectives, my hold. You can see this. This is because and I don't know why this stayed and the Parabolan Panther didn't. Oh. Actually, I do know why. Because I made a new... Okay, so, this Whisper locked puzzle box I found in the browser game Fallen London. And you can choose to send it along over to here, to your captain in Sunless Sea. And I did that. But it's a new account, a new Fallen London account with a new email address. So if I had used my old email address, I might have the Parabolan Panther. It's not really much of a shame. Like, it's nice to have the Parabolan Panther to start off with. I forget what its stats are, but they're pretty good. But if I recall, and I may be very wrong, but at least I never found any story content with it. It's just because, it's only a very small amount of people would have the Panther who paid, a certain tier or number of tiers in the Kickstarter. So there was no story content. So it was kind of disappointing. Anyway, the Alarming Scholar may have some ideas. I'm not going to be able to talk with the Alarming Scholar until I get back from my first trip. If not later. I'm not sure exactly what triggers them to show up. Okay. I know I'm going slow. I just don't want to... I want to show this game off because I do like this game very much. I used to come home... When did this game come out? I want to say... Was I in high school? That seems unlikely. I'm going to have to cut this out. Okay. So I would have been... I don't know what I would have been doing. I would have been out of college. I would have been... Man, I'm thinking about this too much. I would have been either between that and law school, or I would have been starting law school. But that doesn't feel right because I was too busy to do this in the first few months of law school. God, I should probably cut all that out. Anyway, so here we are at the shops. We have Mrs. Plenty's shipshide. I should start this Let's Play over. I'm filled with shame, grief. Anyway, there's all sorts of stuff that you can get. I find it hard to navigate all of these because they're not just in London, they're in all sorts of other places. I'm bad at navigating them, but that's just how I be. Finest output of the Greyfield Shroom Yard, so it's all mushroom based. We'll be able to see other things that we can buy, weaponry and engines. Engines are very important to improve, in my opinion, pretty much ASAP, because they let you move faster than enemies. And except when I had money to burn in Hardacre II, my captain who did the best, I've never much worked with these except if I felt I really needed mirrors, because it ups that stat, but they also use more fuel until well, anyway. So I've gotten that, so now we can get back to the story. Alright, so I have that. Nida's walls are basalt. Oh my god, I just realized I don't know how to pronounce that word. I can tell you what it is, but not how to pronounce it. But within them, it's as close to paradise as man can make. 1,000 fountains, the streets paved with gem slabs, and the air sweet with honeysuckle and orange groves. That sounds pretty great. How does he know? Has he been there? One bottle, and he loosens his waistcoat. A second, and he loosens his tongue. No, I never been to Nida, not in the flesh at least. He leans close. But I once tasted red honey, and the memories of a man who had. I only saw fragments, an army at the walls, a breach, a rallying cry. Liberty, equality, eternity. A third bottle. Where could you taste these memories for yourself? Go to the Isle of Cats. Talk to the cat's chiefest claw. Ask about the far-traveled notary. But if you're wise, you'll do like me. Use what you learn to get free drinks. Immortality's for gods and monsters. Ooh. A monster, you say? Me, a monster. Okay. So, everyone's hooked in. I have 8 out of 10, which I'm fine with. I would like... One of the things, I don't know if nerfing is quite the right word, but they absolutely tried to make it... I found it sort of interesting. Like, for a while, they tried to make it, like... interesting and unpredictable, like what things could be sold for, what profits you might make when you take supplies, not these, items that you can purchase and sell elsewhere for a profit. For a time, they tried to make it sort of interesting, and then I think they settled on they didn't want this to be that sort of economics game, and so they made it as hard as possible to make a profit by shipping stuff, pretty much as possible. Like I think the best price you can get for mushroom wine ever is like 24. So, and our hold, like once we fill it with supplies that we need in order to not die, there's not a lot of room in this the baseline boat, and you basically only make a little bit of profit along the way. Basically, they want you to make money by exploring, and I guess killing monsters, sea creatures, and pirates, and not by using your noodle and getting good deals. I'm a little disappointed. I guess it's for the best because now I don't have to worry about grinding, because they made it as unfun and unuseful as possible. But I think you can tell by my tone of voice that I am disappointed in them as people. Okay, so I've done that, and it's probably a bad idea, but I did it. And here I am, living life. Okay, so, places that I need to go. Anywhere I please, really. So, I'm going to get started. One thing I don't like is that when you're at port, hunger and stuff will still go down, which is amazing and not something that I would have liked. I have actually reached starvation and had to reload. Speaking of which, oh, interesting, you can't save out in the water. Whoops. Well, we'll see. We'll see if I die. The thing is, I don't know where to go. Like, if I go east, is likely to get to Gator's Mourn. Everything always changes where it is. And I appreciate it. But I remember sometimes, like with the Heartacres, I very much was sad about how the islands were placed in relation to one another, because it made it impossible to make a profit unless I got a huge ship that had, like, I think it has like 200 storage. And, ooh. Wow, I found the salt lions. Are you sure, little bat? Are you sure I didn't? Useless, it really do be. I don't respect the Z-Bat. In any case, profit and trade routes very much depends on the islands you can get to in an efficient manner. And I would have liked it to be... Man, I complain a lot. Anyway, 2 basalt beasts, cathedral-sized. They frown eternally at each other across the black waves. The north one carries an encampment. Creeping human figures eat away at its features like rot, picking. There's a supply dock below. So it's 2 sphinxes staring at each other. Right. We get funding from the bazaar, is true, but Station 4? I wouldn't call it Station 4. It's a little grandiose. The stones are stuffed with secrets, but most of them are used as gardens, statuary, or occult ballast. Most of them. Some go down to the places under the bazaar. More tea cakes? Intriguing. I'm gonna see, is this... Yeah, okay. Alright. The port reports are the main way you make money. So, I have that. They don't have any of that. One good way to make money about 2 or 3 times is to bring the Sphinx Stone either to London or to another place that we will find one year. And you can do it like 3 times, and then you can't do it anymore. But it makes money in that interim. Oh shoot! Wait. While we're here, I do want to save. Okay. Alright. One thing is that since fuel is precious, I might not, take the time to circumnavigate certain sites. Not at least until I'm massively wealthy and can afford the waste in fuel. Yeah, are there not? Yeah. So you can see this sort of game is a lot of slow traveling through darkness, which means that a lot of it will need to be cut. But that's just how it be. Ah, dang it. Every time I tried to click on it to put it on the map, the feed scrolled up. Interesting. So the stations are all lined up this universe around. Okay. Iron and Misery. Iron is the name of one of the masters of the bazaar. They all took names of various items. I can't remember them off the top of my head, except that there's one that they don't speak of anymore. So there's Mr. Iron. They all say Mr., though they're referred to as it because they aren't human. And we can talk about what they are more later if we get more hints. Anyway, Misery, I think, is just a dude. And I and M have a funger operation here, felling giant Bolagas shrooms for building materials, harvesting Kirali for its medicinal properties. It's a desperate little outpost of something like civilization. Up puffs the affable Factor. Oh, hello, Captain. Thank God for visitors. We go quite mad out here otherwise. Ahahaha. Quite mad. How can we be of assistance? Alright. Oh, yes. Very good. So, you sit on the veranda of the Factor's house, looking out over the fungal jungle, an expanse of green and sour gold. The air is thick with hovering spores. The scones are stale. Even the tea has a hint of mildew. But the Factor is good company. He shares odd stories about the ice and roses of Irem, the monstrosities of the Sea of Lilies, and a little restaurant in Venderbite where he enjoyed the most extraordinary seafood. Venderbite, I know. I'd never met a tomb colonist who could cook, but you must visit the place. Do you know it? He also has a load of Bolagas frond carted aboard your ship. He waves away your thanks. I have eaten so much of the stuff I fear that I might be transformed entirely into fungus. He leans confidentially towards you. It happens, you know. But one does have to eat rather a lot of it first. I love that loses you a terror. Hearing that. Got fragments, one new supply, and that will be useful except that we need money. So, reports. Why not? Life is short and then you die. Oh no. The fug of dread. The spores lie thick on your face. They coat your tongues. One crewman begins to whimper. Oh Christ, he says. They've reached my heart. I think I'll be harvest yet. Harvest yet. You'll have to drag him back to the ship before he's calm again. So, you have a little more terror. That's okay. We don't need it that badly. We do need it that badly. I lied. This is a pitiful amount, but we can't afford more. At least not yet. Yeah, and I can't afford more supplies. And we'll save. I should have named him something different. He's so far down. Okay, I've renamed myself. I am now AA Overhill. Hopefully that will show up more quickly. And that's why all of my captain names are like A's or H's originally. Oh god, I was wasting time talking. Okay. So we have this. It's nice to get up to Venderbite, but we won't be able to. Not this time. Yeah, I'll keep going eastward. We'll try and swing back around. See if we can find Guider's Morn. No islands. I guess I can't fault him there when I'm right next to one. There's presumably a little distance between them. It's about the least amount of monsters I've seen. Usually I've been rammed by this point. Okay, well, stuff here. Sea of Voices. We're close to Polythrene. My god. Okay, so remember, northwest is Bonnie Reefs. Ooh. Polythrene. I don't know where the port is. Oh, there it is. Oh, I chose right. No, this isn't Polythrene. This is a fallen stalactite. And a pirate ship, probably. Sometimes, just occasionally, bits of the roof fall off. Be glad you weren't there when this one did. The brawling, bearded men who live here call themselves monks. They pay lip service to Saint Stalactite, which fell from the roof, but their chief interests seem to be wine, blood, and shouting. Interesting. I don't know what any of that meant. One of the things that always makes me a little nervous is that sometimes you'll click on something and it turns out that was like your one allotted action on an island and you can't do any of the other ones that you wanted to do. So I'll do this one because I don't recall seeing this one before. An old bearded man sits cross-legged and naked in Godfall's smallest monastic cell. At the sight of the group he flinches. His wrinkled skin is covered in faded scars. "No more freedom," he whispers. 10 of the clock, we sweep. 15 past 10 of the clock, we wash. There are orders. There must be orders. No more freedom, please. A monk hands him a mop and bids him clean the entire chapel by first bell. The supplicant squeezes it tight. "Yes, master," he whispers, tears of gratitude welling up in his eyes as he scampers off. There's an awkward silence. He should make a very devout monk, one of the others ventures. Once we finally get him into the habit. Oh boy. Is that everything? Yep. I wonder if that's just flavor text. A little hint. That guy got out of a prison of some sort. Okay. So northwest is there. Let's see if this turns out to be an enemy. Sometimes, very rarely, yeah. Very rarely it's just a ship. Just like flavor text. I'm not a fan of the combat in the game. See, hunger increases even as you're at port. So it's just gonna do doggone shimmies. What a dickhead. So I can turn off the light. See if I can avoid them. Because I can only... fudge. Well. We'll see how it goes. I've never been lucky with this. No pirate has ever been nice to me. So Bonnie Reefs, but is there a dock around here? That's the question. This game, a lot of this game is going to be consulting the map. I'm sorry for that. But it's not like I can have it up in another window. On account of it changes every gameplay, so. Yep. Yeah, no. I don't know what the Bonnie Reefs are. Ooh. Pigmote. That might be fun. See, you can be inches away from an island and you'd never know. I saw that pirate over there in the upper left. Alright. There's no habitation in sight, no market, only an old, rotting dock. A stretch of sand thickens into damp, black earth from which sprout stunted palms? Not quite. Tall fungal growths with frond-like caps, as if someone had sculpted the idea of a tree from a mushroom. War? As you step onto the quay, you hear clamor, shouts, and shooting. You can see off in the distance smoke rising from beyond the hill, and dots of fire flecking the horizon. Two tiny figures stand a little further down the quay, unmoving, as if awaiting your approach. Oh, a little interlude. The following is an extract from the popular Diary of a Sea Captain, from London to Erem and what we did there before we arrived. Ah yes, Erem. Washed ashore on Mutton Island and subsequently serialized in the Unexpurgated Gazette. The author's identity remains unknown, and possibly he hasn't even been born yet. For all we know, Erem is a weird place, in which a delegation is made, a choice is presented, war is declared, a most singular treasure is sought by all, and a new empire is founded with tooth and claw. Chapter 1, The Delegation. The figures were rodents. To my left was a Rattus Faber, wearing goggles, a blacksmith apron, and an assortment of tools. To my right, an unusually large guinea pig, wearing a helmet and breastplate breastplate, reminiscent of nothing so much as the high Middle Ages. The rat stepped forward first and bowed. "Welcome, Captain, to Ratstar Island. I am Edgar, second Chief Engineer of the 3rd Rat Brigade. I invite you to avail yourself of food and fuel at our expense. The only cost to you is a choice." The rat stepped back. At precisely the same moment, with what appeared to be the ease of long habit, the guinea pig scuttled forward and made a declamatory chirp. "Welcome, Captain, to the Isle of Cavies. I am Lady Augusta Devereaux, Swinch of the Blackwater Swinches, seneschal to our King Gracenaw, first of his name. I invite you to avail yourself of food and fuel at our expense. The only cost to you is a choice." So this is, I guess, my little old diary. Huh. Right. Okay, so the Chief Engineer. Alright, I asked the Chief Engineer to elaborate. He looked at me for a long, measured moment before speaking gruffly. "We came to this island to make a home for ourselves away from London. Its cats and snuffers, its rat skin suits. We came to live as citizens of our own republic. We came with our tools, our teeth, our clever hands, and we made a beautiful city by the light of the rat star that shone bright and blue on Mount Ararat." The Chief Engineer nodded towards the distant hill. "One day we braved the depths of the chicken woods, and from the top of Mount Ararat we plucked the rat star to be our light, our beacon. But the pigs of Cavies saw the light, and they lusted for it. They sent armies to rule us and steal our star. We will not permit them to take what is ours. We will resist to our last breath. Will you join us in defeating them?" A night out of habit. Oh my god. The seneschal cleared her throat with a delicacy to rival the Duchess's own before speaking. "Gracenaw the King, our lord and sovereign, full 7 months had sojourned on the sea, conquered this land, and won the southern main. Now no fortress against him shall remain, no city walls be left for him to gain, save the rats that squeak behind Mountain. Unlikely was the lamb of our deliverance, assured shall be our glories and their fall, when our Lady's eye restored be to our hall." The seneschal composed herself, then added, "We saw truth and beauty by the light of Our Lady's eye on Mount Ararat and Caveat. But the rats, with their guns and their chatter and their peasants' politics, stole it from us. We will subjugate them and take it back. They are a rabble, and we will rule them with the steel-shod velvet of our paws. Will you join us?" Well, I gotta tell you, I fucking hate royalty. I would like this one. Or a fondness for London's rat-skin coats that swayed me. See, the problem is, I'm trying my best not to just look up what the outcomes are, because, of course, some outcomes are better for me than others. I guess it would be nice if we could get them to work together. The Chief Engineer and the seneschal shared a look, then regarded me with scornful amusement. "Yes," smirked the Chief Engineer, "you're obviously much cleverer than us." "Oh, much," murmured the seneschal. "You clearly know us much better than we know ourselves." Apparently idealism would not help here. Fine. Fuck the rich. Fuck royalty. I extended a finger to the Chief Engineer, who shook it grimly. The seneschal hissed and chattered her teeth in disgust, but kept her distance. "You made the right choice," said the Chief Engineer. "Let me show you around." Alright. Yeah, they wouldn't let me. You don't want to work together? Fine. I chose the people that didn't say subjugation in their selling line. Alright, the chief engineer led me to the northern side of the island, skirting the chicken woods. We passed through a number of what can only be termed checkpoints, as fierce-eyed rats shouldered their derringers and saluted the chief engineer. Soon we come upon a small colony, smaller than some of the infestations I had encountered in London flats. Perhaps only 50 Ratus Faber all together, working diligently to fortify their side of the island. By the way, I don't know if it's obvious, but Ratus Faber is just intelligent rats. That's their little scientific name. The first thing I noticed was a brilliant light beaming out from a stump of chicken wood about 6 feet high. It bathed the whole settlement in a clean blue glow, and was almost too bright to look at. By its light I could see several raised mounds of earth, suggesting shallow tunnels. An efficient fishing operation was set up by the water, an albino rat mending nets while others stabbed sharpened sticks into the waves. Further inland was a barracks where a sergeant barked drills at a small squadron of fighters. My arrival drew attention, and several rats paused in their work to look at me curiously. "Welcome to Merinia," said the chief engineer, voice warm with pride. "It is not much to look at now, but it will be once we've rousted the Cavies. Take a stroll around while I summon the war council." With that, he vanished into one of the mounds and left me to explore. The Rat Star. It's not a star, of course, not really, but try explaining that to the others. The chief engineer doesn't want me working too hard to convince them. Says this is better for morale. But just look at it, look. She offered me her goggles. I managed to work them over just enough of one of my eyes to see the truth of what she was studying. It was scintillac, but unlike any I'd seen before, blue as a sapphire, but more brilliant. Something about the clarity of its color was tremendously soothing. The chief science officer tittered with pleasure as I handed her goggles back. Those of us who have been to the Cavies side of the island and lived to tell of it say that there's plenty of glow there, plenty of bright in the water all around, but nothing like this. We took this from the island's center, Mount Ararat. Only it's not a mountain, of course, any more than this is a star. It's hollow, there's sweet water inside, and coral crawling all up the walls of it, but nothing that glows, save this. It's ours now, and no one can take it from us. Alright, so I've done that. We were fighting impressive odds. I approached the drill sergeant and went so far as to salute her, which earned me a grunt of satisfaction. The sergeant dismissed her troops and offered me a bit of chicken wood jerky to gnaw on. "There's more of us below ground," she explained, "but not enough. The Cavies are bigger, and there's more of them. We're better with weapons, but haven't got the stuff to make them with. Most of us came here as stowaways and brought nothing but food, tools, and the fur on our backs. We can fish, and we nibble the chicken woods, but we can't make guns out of trees. The Cavies came with their own steamer, and seem to have endless supplies. We raid them, sometimes, but there's so few of us, and we can never hold on to territory gained for long. But that's of no consequence. All we want is to be left in peace and build our republic. And the Rat Star," she added thoughtfully, after a moment. "Of course. We want that too." Interesting. An albino rat smiled up at me from his mending work, looking dainty and a little shy. Oh. Chickenwood floats, especially when it's dried out and sealed, so we're able to paddle out a bit and cast our nets. We come up with all sorts of things, blind fish, crabs, sometimes a chunk of broken tentacle, but the fishing would never be so good without the Rat Star. He beamed. I think it only draws good fish and keeps the scary ones at bay. I know the chief science officer doesn't believe it, but I do. That light is our livelihood. Interesting. I just want to see if there's anything extra. I don't think so. Alright. I was summoned. Yeah, that's the thing. I usually get to this island sort of medium words, so I have a little more to offer. Chief Engineer emerged from the underground with a motley assortment of other rats. He introduced them as weapons experts, strategists, and field commanders. "So you're going to help us beat the Cavies," he said, a hard edge to his voice. "But how exactly?" 37 versus 37, so I'm equally crud at both. It's a shame, but that's how it be. I do want to overwrite. What? Dang. I didn't expect that. I'm curious about what their might is. Nope. Well, I don't know what happened there. I just wanted another shot at the roll, and I fucked everything up. Well, nothing I can do about it. And I'm only sorry that I may have missed something. I'm not sorry that I tried, because I just don't respect purely random rolls. It's a dumb thing to say. Well, I seem to have aided the birth of a nation. That's probably a good place to stop for now. Dang. The only thing I can think to do is try and get here in another save and just go through again. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, that's enough for now. Farewell. Okay, so I've made it back here. with some effort. And we'll just see what it says regardless of what happens. Okay. So. Uh-oh, I succeeded this time. Oh well. Alright, I dressed up one of me sailors in a mess of shabby cloth smeared with prisoner's honey and instructed him to roll around in the black of the island. Soon we had a glorious mud monster descend, thrashing through the chicken woods towards the Cavies. The distraction worked perfectly. The Cavies diverted their force towards our makeshift beast, leaving the rats with very little opposition as they plundered the grounded ship. They returned triumphant, as did my sailor, laughing, having led the Cavies a merry chase. Within a few hours, the rats' diligence had resulted in the building of a remarkable cache of weapons. I'm not very good at reading today, I'm sorry. A remarkable cache of weapons with which they successfully routed their enemy. Rats, ever egalitarian, shared their spoils in addition to the promised food and fuel. Nice. Now vulnerable. Okay, so it gives you a lot more. Aw, that's nice. Sure. The albino rat I saw mending nets shyly stepped forward. Good at fixing things, he said earnestly, and I'd like to see more of the world. Wonderful. Uh-oh. That's not good. It's true. I appealed to the chief engineer's moral fortitude and sense of fair play. Perhaps the Cavies suffered the loss of the light from the center of the island. Perhaps they were only trying to get it back, not steal it from the rats? The chief engineer looked troubled at the thought. We only want to be left alone, he said. He looked towards the seneschal, haphazardly bandaged among the rats as other prisoners. Perhaps further negotiation is possible. As I left, I saw the albino rat timidly offering a young Cavie prisoner a piece of fresh fish. Nice. That's nice. That is something. That's how it is with many things, whether bullies or bigots or anything. You can make peace with them after you show you're a force to be feared. Right. There, you finish your diary entry, and the final dregs of the rats is surprisingly good wine. They line up to salute you as you leave the victory banquet, escorting you to your ship through the foundations of their new republic. Well. So that's that. So I screwed it up in our game, but oh well. So that's that, and I will manually save there. Why not? So as you can see, I was a lot stronger in this one because normally you get here a lot later. Alas, that's all I can say. So at least, so we didn't read the right words, but at least we read some words. Okay. All right, farewell.